Andrew Wilson absolutely annihilates a feminist panel on one of the most heated debates you'll see in a while. Now, on the Whatever podcast, we have Andrew Wilson talking about age gaps and stuff, where a number of women on the panel have a stance on age gap relationships, tearing apart arguments basically about maturity, morality, and the so called ick factor. Okay, so Andrew Wilson keeps the conversation sharp, direct, and unapologetic. So people, go ahead and get ready to get your popcorn, or just be prepared to slam your heads on your desks, or just get ready to cringe of the different feminist arguments and stuff with this Andrew Wilson debate and discussion on age gap relationships and marriages. So here is Andrew Wilson totally annihilating the feminist panel in this heated debate.
So I've never, in other words, this is what I would say, I've never actually heard a compelling moral argument for why it would be wrong if the age of adulthood is considered 18 for somebody with a significant age gap relationship to date or marry an 18-year-old. I've never heard a compelling moral argument against it.
So what is a 35-year-old, like when you're a 35-year-old man, you see an 18-year-old girl that she can't drink, she can't legally do a lot of things at her age. She's just an adult. She can vote, sure. She could go into the army, whatever she wants to. She could do all those things.
So she's an adult.
But at 18, she can make decisions like that for her career and stuff. But as far as like,
but she can't determine who she wants to be with. She can just run the country. So she can vote to run the country. She can join the military. She can sign a contract. She can buy a house. She can do everything in the world except decide who she wants to date.
I didn't say she didn't have to. I just personally, I don't agree with that type of an age gap because she's literally fresh out of high school.
Yeah,
I think,
but let's say high school.
Man looking at
but let's say high school lasted until you were 20. Then would the fresh out of the high school thing, because that's good rhetoric, right, to say fresh out of high school. But if it lasted until you were 20, would you still say fresh out of high school?
No, you're 20.
Yeah, right. So
so
the high school thing's not relevant here. It's
you don't
not
so?
high school, right? The idea here is that you think that there's some kind of ick factor from you as to why this is icky. I get that. Totally understand. I think age gaps are fucking icky too. But I can't make a moral argument against them.
Can I try and add in?
Yeah, I'd like to hear one.
Okay. So if I'm thinking of me at age 18 versus me even now at 27,
Sure.
Big difference.
mentally, what I'm able to understand, how I'm able to articulate myself, the type of decisions I'm making are completely different.
Well, let me tell you why this is a bad argument.
Okay.
Because that'll be the same case when you're 37. So why should we let you date right now at 27?
So at 27, I shouldn't date a 40-year-old because what I'm saying though, which I think it does have a good argument, is don't you think an 18-year-old, like their prefrontal cortex is not fully developed yet? Like why should they be more, like morally, don't you think that would be wrong of the 35-year-old to be like, I see it as almost like that's like a little bit of a prey type thing.
Is your
that's double the age.
Is your objection that the prefrontal cortex is not fully developed?
Yes, like I wouldn't consider myself actually being an adult until I was 25. That's the year I'd say, wow,
Then why,
I actually think I was an adult.
By this logic, women should not be able to vote till they're 25.
I wouldn't say that I can say the same thing for men, but I would think that we would be able to do it at the same time.
The objection is not that men should not be able to, at 18, date 40-year-old
I know, I just didn't want it to be that an 18-year-old boy can vote and a 25-year-old woman couldn't vote. That's all I wanted to add in.
Because you're not saying that men shouldn't date 40-year-old women at 18 because
no,
their
I think
prefrontal cortex
I think they also
developed.
shouldn't. I don't know. I'm saying I can't get in the brain of a. I can't get in the brain.
Do their
Wow, this is pretty interesting because, okay, age gap relationships, some of them work, some of them don't. I don't really have any bias towards it or against it, but then again, it doesn't matter what I think. But there's been, a number of people in age gap relationships and marriages, and they can make it work. Now, granted, there's a big story as to why a lot of older men want younger women and stuff in their 20s and stuff, because the fact of the matter is a lot of women, their ages have become bitter, used up, divorced and also having some bitter baby daddy resentment and stuff, where these older men don't want to deal with that. Some of them already dealt with that with their ex-wives, and then there's other men who've seen that with, other women and men and stuff, relationships, when they don't want that for themselves either. I mean, that's something that these ladies here, these women here need to go ahead and understand, because simple fact of the matter is that younger man, or not younger man, an older man, just because he wants a younger woman doesn't mean, he's on some predator type stuff. He just wants somebody who's fertile, who he sees having a family with and stuff, who's also, genuinely still has a bit of innocence within her and stuff, who is able to let him take the lead and stuff. That's a simple thing right there. That's something that these women here on this podcast, these feminists, fail to understand, because just because they assume that he's an older man, he wants to go ahead and go after these younger girls or these younger women and stuff. I mean, what's this like hearing about everybody say that like when she's 18, that's the age of consent and stuff. Then now they're arguing, they don't consider themselves as adults and everything, until 25. Oh, come on. At any age, there's a difference. There's a different level of maturity and immaturity that a lot of people have.
Prefrontal cortexes develop at the same rate?
No,
women?
Men develop
no,
slower.
men's are
Men
slower.
Slower.
Men's are slower.
So you want so wait. So men can't make the decision to date until what, 28? In an age gap relationship?
Who's saying that? She said
Well,
that.
I'm not saying that it's like they absolutely shouldn't, it's illegal, but I'm saying when you were saying, I don't know if there's like a moral standpoint,
Doesn't sound like I've heard a moral standpoint. You say, so if you're going to make this claim, I'm not an adult on 25 because my Abdullah oblongata is not completely developed yet.
Right.
It's like, okay, that's fair. Why the fuck would I let you do any adult shit then? Why would I let you vote? Why would I let you buy a house?
Well,
why
is
would
that-
I let you?
well,
why
is
would I
that
let you
very
join
specifically
politics?
that's
That's
looking out for
honestly though, that
18-year-olds?
could be true then. Okay, so then if it doesn't develop till 25, then okay, raise
If you
those things
wanted
to
to
25.
raise the age of consent to 25, because that's when you're an adult, I'm all for it.
Yeah, but nobody's saying
All I need to hear from you is women are incapable of giving consent until they're 25. That's all I need to hear, and then I'm with you.
Here's the thing. Andrew Wilson is saying these things because he's using their logic against them. Okay, so basically, if you're going to say that, if you're going to go ahead and resort to biology and everything, and as well as, age of not being able to make, good decisions and stuff, be prepared to go ahead and defend that particular logic. Because the simple fact of the matter is that if you're going to go ahead and have a stance that, okay, if you're against, age gap relationships and marriages, seems to me like you may be the type that may have sort of bitterness towards the very men and stuff who are around your age and don't want to be with you, and you had experience of them preferring to be with women that are younger and more fertile. Because guess what? In your 20s, in their 20s, these women out here want to go ahead and focus on their career, have fun, go party, or whatever the case is, okay? Except for, settling down with a potential husband and stuff, starting a family, and basically growing together and having a family at a good age and stuff. But the problem is, you've wasted your 20s over either, not looking to do that, or just basically getting your body all used up and stuff. I hate to say that, but that's the case nowadays. And that's what people like Andrew Wilson have often stated, because of the fact of the matter is a lot of women nowadays are like this. And Andrew Wilson is just basically sharing with them their own logic and stuff. And then he's getting them to think about these things that they're saying. So that way, they can see where Andrew Wilson, where he's trying to get to and where he's coming from.
I can't speak for all
Oh,
women.
well, then I guess you can't say it's
No,
immoral.
I can't. I can only speak for me if I put myself and I know that
So
I'm not.
you couldn't consent till you were 25.
No, I know that if I was 18, that absolutely would have not been a healthy or morally correct situation for me to be with a man who's 35 years old.
So yeah, the idea here
That's
is
funny. I have a master's degree, so in creative writing, and I have 6 books. So
Also, if you're wondering why she said that, it's because the wife of Andrew Wilson, Rachel Wilson, just said in the comment below that none of you are smart enough to bother with college. It sounds harsh because you have been gaslit your entire life and stuff. Basically telling them that, you know, they're not really smart, and she just responded with that. But watch this.
I thought you had something in psychology.
I do have a bachelor's in psychology, a master's in creative writing.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, the idea here is that's fine. I'm willing to cede the ground that we should wait to call people adults till they're 25. But that means the entailment of that is we have to treat them like they're not adults until they're 25.
Right.
Which means no voting, no age of consent. They can't have sex with somebody who's 26 then. Until they're 25. If they're 24, they can't have sex with a 26-year-old. It'd be like a 16-year-old screwing an 18-year-old, right? Be the same exact thing. So you would have to raise the age of consent. You'd have to raise the voting age. You have to raise all of that. If you're fine saying that that's what you want,
Right.
then I can agree to it.
Right. Then I would say I'd have to know on the back end more research of why it's actually 18 right now. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know.
Because
I can't.
physiologically, it's completely undamaging for females at age 18 to 21 to have children. That's why.
Yeah,
You
that's
could make
it.
the argument 17, 16, 15 on average, you're going to incur more damage. 18, usually not. It's a healthy age for child rearing, just like 19 is, 20,
Gotcha.
21. The reason they want to start early is so that you can have as many children as possible. This is the idea behind it. So your fertile years are in front of you. So it makes sense, actually.
Okay.
So you
Yeah,
don't
it
think
was-
it's ever just a sex thing? You're
I'm-
35 looking at an 18-year-old?
I'm absolutely certain that most men at 35 who wanted to get married to an 18-year-old would be doing it specifically. The primary reason would be because they wanted to have lots and lots of sex with them and make babies. Yes, absolutely. I would concede that 100%. Just not sure what the problem with that is. That's the thing that gets me is like, how do you construct a moral argument that that's incorrect for them to do if they're adults? So if they're 35, they're 18, they're adults. What's actually incorrect if that is their most fertile years between 18, 20, let's say 26? It's almost compelling the other way, right?
Yeah, but any person's going to question it. Like, how long were you guys dating? How long were you, like, looking at my daughter for you to even say, you know what, I want to talk to this
Yeah.
girl. She's 18.
Yeah,
Like,
but-
like, no
Hey, girl.
parent-
But they would ask
Hold
the
on.
same questions at 29.
Yep. No.
Okay, but just granting.
Yeah, they would. Like your dad would be like, "How long have you known this guy?"
For the
before
sake-
you married him, regardless of
No,
your
but,
age,
yeah,
right?
but 18 dating 35. How long were you talking to her for you to be like, you know,
let's
this is my
let's
this
just
could be a
grant they
potential
met.
wife.
They first made contact. She was 18.
Yeah.
First made contact. 18.
So are you literally just scouting out just 18-year-olds, or you just met her randomly one day?
I'm going to
and said, "Let
assume
me
that
get to
they're
know her."
just scouting out 18-year-olds. They just adore them.
But you just don't think it's like a little weird?
You don't think that that's like a fetish? I have like them teenagers.
Regardless of if I think it's weird, or I think it ick, or I think it's gross, or any number of different things, right? The Orthodox, my religion, don't even endorse age gaps that wide, okay? So I can actually make a moral argument, but ultimately, I cannot think of why, if it gives you the ick, that makes it immoral. A counterexample. If I were to say LGBTQ gives me the ick, right? Would you accept that as being a valid argument for why they shouldn't be LGBTQ?
Like, what would be the reason? Yeah.
Would you accept that? Fuck no, you ain't gonna accept that,
But
right?
my argument
then,
wasn't
hang on. So if you wouldn't accept that, then why the fuck would a guy ever accept that it gives you the ick as being something valid for anything? You know what I mean?
That's the thing right there. He's trying to figure out what's the moral argument for it and everything. He hasn't seen, the immoral argument as he stated, and also at the same time, he hasn't seen the moral defense for it either. He's just simply asking for proof and questions and stuff, and they're just doing nothing but giving their opinions and stuff. And also, why are they focused solely on the age of 18? And a lot of these men nowadays see these younger girls who are 18 years old and stuff. they don't want anything to do with them. Okay, or at least the ones that I'm around and stuff, or that I've seen on, whether it's online or in my city or in other places throughout the U.S. and stuff, where it's rare that I've seen, any man in his 30s and stuff want a woman that's 18 and stuff. Now, granted, Bill Belichick, NFL head coach, he's with a 25-year-old woman right now that's made, and she's his girlfriend. That has me puzzled right there. But then again, at the same time, that's what she wants. Okay, I don't think he persuaded her. I think I don't know how they met or whatever, but that's none of my business or my concern and everything. But the fact of the matter is that if she's, whether she's 18, 20, 25, 29, whatever. I mean, if she wants to go ahead and date herself an older man, then she has a right to. Okay. Now, I'm not seeing like it's not immoral and stuff, but there are a few, questions of ethics that's a lot of people wondering out there right now. But the fact of the matter is, like, if it's like you got people who are married together that's 13 years apart and everything, but you're not saying anything to them about that. I mean, the girl is 18 and she's with a man that's, well over in age and stuff, 13 years older. And the crazy part about that is they're actually trying to justify their stances, but they don't offer any valuable proof of it. That's what Andrew Wilson is trying to get them to do, to also think about it and rethink their positions.
Yes, but I don't think that my point about an 18-year-old potentially being too young is about an ick at all. I think that someone who's 36 has double the amount of life experience as an 18-year-old. Why should they?
Because a
be paired up?
because a 26-year-old and a 26-year-old, one of them can still have double the life experience of the other, and you know this.
That's true.
So the thing is like.
So an 18-year-old could
So
have
wait,
the.
can I ask you a
So
question?
hang on. So would you make the same objection, if there's two 26-year-olds, one of them had double the life experience of the other one? Would you make the same objection?
No, you have a point there.
So if you wouldn't make that same objection,
Right.
then it gives you the ick.
Okay.
There's got to be an ick factor, right?
I'll have to think on it.
Okay, that's fair.
I was going to ask sort of almost a similar question as you, Andrew, on that. So you could have, for example, if you had a 40-year-old man who was a rock star, traveled the world, had all these experiences, sexual experiences, whatever, and then he wants to date a 40-year-old woman who lived in a small town, dull life, never went outside of her town.
That's still double the life experience. That's the point.
That's
Right.
The life experience is so asymmetrical. But I don't
Or you
think,
can also have it the opposite direction, where you could say the 19-year-old girl, right, partied hard in high school and traveled the world with her family and all sorts of shit, gets married to a 35-year-old fuddy-duddy churchgoer who really hasn't had much experience outside of just gets up and goes to work every day. So you could even make the case the opposite direction, that it's possible for the younger person to have more life experience than the older person. Though I would grant probably not the case, right? Most certainly is in the case of most people that I've met who get married around the same age, that one is far more mature than the other.
Right.
Andrew Wilson just delivered a good example, something I didn't even think about, because yes, a lot of women don't consider that there's older men out there who also don't have much life experience as those who are in their 20s. Okay, so it's also possible that there's younger women with a lot of life experience who will meet men in their 30s, older men in their 30s or 40s and stuff, with little or less, with little life experience and everything, and who's like a man who's really religious, a man of faith and stuff. And it's like that right there completely destroy their argument and stuff. So yeah, basically Andrew Wilson not only got them to think about the things that they put out there to him, but he got them to learn, and also at the same time he definitely annihilates this feminist panel in this particular heated debate from the Whatever podcast. So let me know your thoughts about this from this Andrew Wilson debate, and I'll see you all in the next one. Until then, peace.